He's in a wheelchair. He said that yesterday he couldn't stand. His spirits are good, but it's going to take a while for him to be the Mumia that we all know and love. We're going to continue to love him, but he needs a lot of help. He needs a whole new diet. We're going to see that he can get a new diet and move forward. He told us also that he wants us to continue fighting to try to get him some outside help, some outside help, and that's part of the things that we're asking for is for some doctors to be able to give him a full examination. And so he's not going to stop that. Help us with that to move forward with that.
Well, from what I saw, my observation is this. They saying that they didn't know what he had or whatever. They didn't diagnose him with anything specifically that could pinpoint what it was that was causing him to be sick. And I'm saying I don't believe they did that. I think they did a diagnosis and they knew exactly what it was. But they wasn't going to tell him because in order for them to tell him, which would mean that he would try to help himself. And the diet that they have in this prison and prisons throughout the state is ridiculously dangerous to people. I'm saying the everything that is sweet is extremely sweet, and everything that is salty is extremely salty. People go to prison and they didn't have diabetes, and within 3 months they got diabetes. Wow. And that's how the prison system is with the way they feed people. We were at the prison with Delbert, and they told Delbert that they had some chicken on the line that they were serving people, and Del said he could smell it, that it was rotten before they cooked it. But they fed it to him anyway. Oh my. And this is how they treating people at these prisons. And Mumia, look, he was on death row for a long time. And just because they took him off of death row status don't mean that they took him off of death row status. It is important for people to put out the importance of pressuring the system about the diet that they're giving these people, and make sure that they fight for something better. Make sure that they fight for something of something that's substantial, because the things that they're giving these people, even with being careful of the diet that you're eating, it's dangerous. When you eat roasted nuts or something, you got to wash it off first, and it still tastes over salty. But this is what they're giving people, and we gotta get on that and fight for that. And Mumia has been putting out information to help people since Mumia. And it's time for us as people to fight for him the same way that he has always taken a stand and fight for us. And we got to pressure these people and let them know that they need to give him something. I don't care if it's a special diet or anything, whatever it is that he needs, they need to give it to him. Stop trying to give him medicine that's going to induce diabetes. Stop giving him things that they know is going to cause these side effects. Give him a good diet and he'll be all right. His spirits, he's been in a situation, in a trying situation, and his spirits are the same Mumia that I remember. He feels and knows, he's aware of what's happening, but he's been weakened by this thing. But the fact is, he haven't been stopped. He haven't been broken, but he needs help. He needs us to lift him up so that he can be and do what he's been doing for all of these years. And I'm saying, like, look, with all of this stuff happening around the world, or around this country specifically, with these police shooting people down in the streets like Mike Brown, and choking people to death like Eric Garner, these people they got a war against the people, and Mumia is somebody that they want out of their way to stop being able to talk about this war against the people. The same way with Phil. How they killed Phil Africa. I'm saying the same way they did him is the same way they're trying to do Mumia. The symptoms are exactly the same. The situation was the same. Everything is a carbon copy of what they did. Just like this jail is no different than the jail around the corner. And I'm saying we have to support him, write him, keep him active mentally, and he will be fine. He's not unable to be better. He will be fine. We just have to do that and stay with him.
That's right. Right on.
This is a difficult conversation to have, because, I mean, Mumia doesn't belong to the movement to free Mumia. Mumia doesn't belong to the people who are closest to him, who visit him on a regular basis. Part of what we've seen in the last week is that Mumia really belongs to the world. And if something happens to Mumia, there's going to be fire in the sky. If something is to happen to Mumia, it would have a demoralizing effect on the world and the movement for justice. Mumia is the voice of the voiceless. What we saw today is a man who has a fighting spirit, whose voice shines on even though he's been weakened seriously. Mumia was brought out in a wheelchair. He told us that he couldn't stand up yesterday. That means that he was transferred to the prison prematurely. The question is, why was he transferred back to the prison when he was not able to sustain himself, when he was not able to speak or stand? They did that in part because there was an enormous amount of attention on Mumia when he was in the hospital, but most importantly, when we had access to him. In the hospital, we kept a vigil around the clock. We were feet away from Mumia. We were talking to nurses who were betwixt and between. They were being pulled by the ethic of the medical profession, which is that you were supposed to safeguard the life of a patient. And the prison had a problem with that. So they wanted to shut us down and shut us up. But I want to tell you that when I called this morning at the crack of dawn, I overheard someone say on the other side that the phones were ringing off the hook. When I called this morning, they told me that I couldn't visit, that there couldn't be a legal visit, and that no one could visit. But the phone started ringing, and within an hour, we were told that 5 people could go in. So that means that there was a victory of the people today, and we were able to witness and hear from Mumia himself what we knew, that he was rushed out of a hospital without being ready. And what we need to say is that that is a continued attempt on Mumia's life. But Mumia has a massive movement behind him. We are going to come back. We are going to make sure that he gets the treatment he needs. No diabetic specialist has yet seen Mumia. Mumia has a severe eczema problem. He needs to see a dermatologist. We need a team of doctors behind him, and there is precedent in the Pennsylvania system for having a team of independent doctors see a prisoner. The prisoner, the wealthy millionaire, heir to some DuPont, John DuPont, who was in prison in Pennsylvania, he was able to be seen by an independent team of doctors, which he chose on his own. And he had a special diet. Mumia Abu-Jamal, the voice of the voiceless, the man who the world wants to know is safe, deserves the same. Mumia told us that his blood sugar today was at 336.
It went up. It went up.
So his blood sugar went up. Why? Because he was brought back to a prison. A prison is no place for someone who is ill. Not only that, he told us that he had eaten, because we, of course, wanted to feed him, and we know that we have to be careful about what we feed him. But you know what he got for lunch? Spaghetti. Spaghetti and carbohydrates is the worst thing you can give a diabetic patient whose blood sugar is dangerously high at 336. So what Brother Mike said is absolutely true. We have a population in Pennsylvania of prisoners who come in healthy, and within 3 months they develop a life-threatening disease, diabetes. There is a healthcare crisis in the system, and Mumia's case really illustrates this point. Mumia was slurring his words. We need to be honest about what's going on. Mumia is slurring his words. His mouth is incredibly dry. He could barely get his words out because of the dryness in his mouth. That means that he's unstable and that he needs care. He needs the proper care. This is a human right. Prisoners have a right to life. Being incarcerated doesn't mean that the system can off you. And there's a reason why the system would want to off someone like Mumia, because he has been offering perspective on the crisis of police brutality, the character of the state, in this moment when a large number of people are waking up and hitting the streets and are looking for an analysis about what kind of world we can actually strive for. So Mumia is in enemy territory, but he told us, I believe in the power of the people. When we were there, he told us, I believe in the power of the people, and it is our duty to fight for his freedom, and it is our duty to win. That means that we have to go from here and commit ourselves to fighting for Mumia's life, to ensuring that there is an investigation about what's happening to Mumia, but what's happening to prisoners across the state in terms of healthcare, but also across this country. What we're talking about here is a crime against humanity, really. Mumia has been suffering for the last 3 months. For the last 3 months, his skin ruptured. I saw his skin for the first time, and it's black. It's hard.
It looks like a giant scab.
Yeah. It's hard. He looks like he's been in a fire. And it really is a sight to behold. What tears me apart is that eczema and diabetes are not rocket science. Mumia is at least 80 pounds lighter than when I saw him last, about 3 months ago. That is I am not a doctor, and I know from common knowledge that when your weight drops exponentially and when you have a skin problem, that is a sign of diabetes. He has been monitored for months by doctors in this facility. Why did they not pay attention to the fact that he had lost at least 80 pounds?
And then he had gained something. What? That he blew up.
And he blew up
3 times his size.
He blew up. He blew up 3 times his size. They gave him medication to which he reacted violently. I mean, all of the signs of diabetes were there. So the only conclusion we can draw is that they knew that something was deeply wrong. They knew that he had diabetes, but they tried to let him die on the vine, and they tortured him. But there's something about there's something about Mumia, and there's something about the fight for freedom that soars. They tried to kill him 3 times. He was supposed to have been executed, and an international movement saved his life, and an international movement is going to get him the proper care he needs, but he also needs a different diet. Mumia is in crisis. He's been brought back here so that we might leave thinking that he's okay, but he's not. This
means that we need to fight harder. We need to tie Mumia to the crisis of mass incarceration and the fact that it is a crime against humanity. And ultimately, it's genocide, because we have in prisons a majority of people who are African Americans and Latinos in their prime childbearing years. And they're being sickened and they're being killed by the system. We call that genocide. We're talking about 2.3 million people. This is what's going on. They've tried to kill Mumia, but Mumia has a fighting spirit and a kick-ass movement behind him. And ultimately, Mumia is going to get the treatment he needs in the streets. This speaks to the struggle to bring Mumia home. Mumia should never have been incarcerated. He is an innocent man, and he's one of the most incredible voices. He's one of the most important journalists, black radicals, luminaries of our time. It is a statement about the horror of the system that they would keep a man like Mumia behind bars. But we're leaving from here confident that we've won. We got into the prison even though they told us this morning that we were not. And we've got Mumia's freedom to win, but we also have a world to win, a world without prisons, a world of justice, a world in which every human being gets the health care they need and they deserve. So my heart is heavy because I've never seen Mumia this way. I mean, Mumia is a strong man who has a very young spirit and a strong body. And he is 80 pounds, 70 pounds below the weight that he is normally, in a wheelchair. But this is not the end. We're coming back. We've got an international movement. I'm looking at the people here, Pam, Suzanne. These are the people who've kept this movement alive for 33 years. This is the longest standing movement after the Black Power movement. We're going to win this. We're going to get health care for Mumia, and we're going to get a team of doctors there to see him. We have two more speakers.